Hey, Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7. We're at episode number 1723 today. Thank you so much for joining me for it. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for all the ratings and reviews you've dropped on the show this week. Thank you so much to the patrons who are helping to bring this show to you every single day by the support at patreon.com/SW7x7. So there's been a lot going on. We're going to save a bunch of it for next week, but today something happened that doesn't usually happen. And that is that some information about an upcoming novel was actually released not on StarWars.com, not by Del Rey, but on the Disney Parks blog of all places. Well, I guess it's not altogether surprising that this announcement happened on the Disney Parks blog, since it happens to have something to do with Galaxy's Edge. We now have a full description for the novel Black Spire by Delilah Dawson, which is coming in late August of 2019. Here's the scoop. It says, after devastating losses at the hands of the First Order, General Leia Organa has dispatched her agents across the galaxy in search of allies, sanctuary, and firepower, and her top spy, Vi Marati, may have just found all three on a secluded world at the galaxy's edge. Now, the first thing upon hearing that jumps to mind is the question of the timeline. When is this happening? And by extension, how long between episode 8 and episode 9? And we still don't have an answer for it. Maybe in a couple weeks at Celebration we'll get an answer for this, but right now, nope. Saying after devastating losses at the hands of the First Order, that doesn't tell us anything. It doesn't say immediately after, number one, which would make it seem like, okay, well then it's immediately after The Last Jedi. And even then, there could still be other devastating losses at the hands of the First Order that this thing might be talking about. So we really have no way to place this within a timeline or to get a sense of how long in universe the time is between episode 8 and episode 9. What we do know is that the events of Galaxy's Edge, as anyone goes to experience them in the park, are supposed to take place a short time before episode 9, but an unknown time after the events of episode 8. So, whether Vi Marati's appearance on here has anything to do with the timeline of the actual Disney Parks experience, we don't have the answer to that either. But I would say that it's probably happening before the moment of Galaxy's Edge, as park goers will experience it, because of the fact that First Order troops are not on the planet until this novel happens. And so, the First Order has already established something of an operating base on Batuu by the time park goers are going to go to Galaxy's Edge and have that experience. And the Resistance is also going to have some sort of foothold there as well. And in this case, it doesn't sound like the Resistance has it yet. It's something that's going to be coming. So let's talk more about what's in the description. It says, a planet of lush forests, precarious mountains, and towering petrified trees, Batuu is on the furthest possible frontier of the galactic map, the last settled world before the mysterious expanse of wild space. The rogues, smugglers, and adventurers who eke out a living on the largest settlement on the planet, Black Spire Outpost, are here to avoid prying eyes and unnecessary complications. Vi, a Resistance spy on the run from the First Order, is hardly a welcome guest, and when a shuttle full of stormtroopers lands in her wake, determined to root her out, she has no idea where to find help. So that right there seems to tell us that Batuu was not necessarily on the list of places that they were going to anticipate the possibility of finding allies, sanctuary, or firepower. I mean, if Vi Marati is on the run from the First Order, then she's not necessarily looking for sanctuary for the Resistance. She's looking for sanctuary for herself so that she can continue her mission. And it may just so happen that Batuu ends up working out very well in that way, but in this particular case, it sounds like we are kind of getting dropped right into the middle of the action, potentially. The fact that she has been looking for these things on behalf of the Resistance, but has run afoul of the First Order, and Batuu is only meant to be a safe place to hide in the short term. And it seems like the First Order is arriving, and it says that the people who are on Batuu, the rogues and smugglers and scoundrels and adventurers, if they don't want additional complications? Well, the First Order is absolutely bringing that complication, and so you can imagine that turning Vi over would probably be very high on the list of things that Black Spire Outpost residents would want to do, in the hopes that the First Order would just take her away and leave them alone to their nefarious deeds. And also, I should point out the line about a shuttle of stormtroopers arriving in her wake. Well, that would suggest to us that there weren't stormtroopers already on the planet, and so that's why I'm suggesting that this has to be taking place prior to the events of the Galaxy's Edge experience. All right, let's continue. It says that to survive, Vi will have to seek out the good-hearted heroes hiding in a world that redefines scum and villainy. With the help of a traitorous trooper and her acerbic droid, she begins to gather a colorful band of outcasts and misfits and embarks on a mission to spark the fire of resistance on Batuu before the First Order snuffs it out entirely. Dun dun dun! And we've already seen that the First Order can be repelled, at least on some level, what we saw at the end of Season 1 of Star Wars Resistance, but I don't know that it can work exactly the same way with Batuu. I mean, if they manage to repel the First Order and get them to leave Batuu alone, I mean, isn't that going to make the First Order just more intensely interested in Batuu and end up sending more resources in that direction? I don't know. I think it's kind of an interesting way to pursue this. And, that's even assuming that they don't flag it as resistance activity. If they just look at it as scoundrels and smugglers and rogues and whatnot, I mean, even if they just look at it that way, it's still going to be enough where they're going to be like, they're resisting us? No, we can't have that. So, yeah, I think something bigger is going to have to happen here. And I think we have a little bit of time to wait, August 27th to be sure. But there are a couple of dates on the calendar before August 27th that may give us some additional information, and I will explain what those dates are in just a moment. First, though, I just got to remind you to subscribe. Please subscribe. If you're not doing it already, please subscribe wherever you like to catch the show. And also, please consider supporting me and bringing this to you every single day by joining me at patreon.com/SW7x7. So, 2 dates on the calendar that might affect our knowledge of the situation for what's going to be happening in the Galaxy's Edge Black Spire novel. First of all, the publishing panel at Star Wars Celebration Chicago. We may well get more details about the novel at that point. And also May 29th, which is when the first of the Galaxy's Edge parks actually opens up. And if somebody finds Vi Marati going around there, in character, like a character playing Vi in some level, then that might be some sort of indicator about what has been transpiring and what may have transpired in the Black Spire novel. And apparently, cast members at Disney are being given some license to develop their own stories. I'm sure they can't necessarily invent stuff about Vi Marati, in incredible detail or anything like that, but they might be given story bits to say something about her because, again, the Galaxy's Edge Park experience is supposed to happen after the events of the Black Spire novel, so it is entirely possible that we could hear some stories about Vi Marati from cast members at Galaxy's Edge. I think that would be really kind of an amazing opportunity, so I hope something like that actually happens. And of course, there are going to be more excerpts between now and the novel's release too, but, who knows when we'll get those. We'll probably get another 1 or 2 of them actually, actual novel excerpts. But yeah, that's not scheduled just yet, but I'm sure it's coming down the pike one of these days. And that is going to do it for our show today here at Star Wars 7x7. Thank you so much for joining me for it, as always. And may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox. It is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other related Star Wars items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2019 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.